This is a V8 Jetsprint boat. They almost defy physics and are the most dynamic watercraft on the planet. They are capable of reaching speeds of up to 80 miles an hour in less than 2 seconds. They'll pull more G-forces than an F-111 fighter plane on takeoff. The acceleration is quicker than a NASCAR and with substantially more horsepower. An unlimited V8 Jetsprint boat has up to 1,600 horsepower and no brakes. The men and women who race these boats are certifiably and justifiably requiring mental analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, you'd better hang on to your children because these methanol-sucking monsters are so powerful, they will suck small animals from trees and spit them out of the exhaust pipe. If that doesn't make the hairs in the back of your neck stand up, you'd better go to the doctor because you might be dead. G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Jetsprint Show, the show where we meet the characters of jet sprinting, because as we know, sport builds character, but it's the characters that make the sport. This episode is brought to you by So Not Hippie Tea. This one, the English breakfast, but we've also got the Calm Your Farm tea. And I'll tell you what, it is bloody sensational. Just have a quick sip. Yeah, I'll tell you, get onto the So Not Hippie website, sonothippie.com. There's about 10 different flavours of tea there. And just because it's healthy, it doesn't mean it's hippie. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our guest tonight, all the way from Queensland, the chairman of the UIM Jetsprint Working Group, Paul Gaston. Welcome, mate.
How are you, Covey?
Bloody shit hot and shiny, mate. Thanks for joining us here on a, I don't know, whatever night it is. But, mate, how's life been treating you?
Yeah, good. It hasn't been too bad. It's pretty strange with all this, all the COVID gear going on. But, yeah, we're going all right. We haven't been affected too hard yet. So, business as usual. Rach has been stuck at home with our 4-year-old Brookie for 3 months. So, we had to pull her out of kindy. So, Rach is pulling her hair out. But other than that, no, we're good. Flying through.
So Rachel's pulling her hair out, mate, and you're spending more time at the office then, are you?
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. Work's got incredibly busy.
No, I'm sure it has, mate. I'm sure it has. Because, run us through what you do up there for work-wise, mate. Give yourself a plug.
It's UWS, Universal Welding Services. So we do structural steel and all steel and metal work for construction, basically. So a lot of shopping centre refurbs. That's been the last couple of years, a lot of shopping centres. But any structural steel, base build or metal works, whatever it is, we do it. If you can cut it, weld it and melt it, we can do it.
Mate, I've seen some of your workmanship, but one of the things, mate, that I do need to ask you about is the chair of the UIM working group. Are you the chair because that's sort of a reflection of your personality, or do you use the chair to get your point across the back of some people's heads?
Nah, not at all. No, it's I guess it's just a role that had to progress a few years ago. It pretty much started at the end of the 2014 Worlds when we went to the States. It just sort of the UIM working group was born at that time. Previous to that, it was a sub-commission, and the UIM just wanted some things to change. So we got that working group together, and it just made sure that jet sprinting has a voice amongst the UIM. So it's quite a delicate operation, I guess, with the UIM. But they've been really supportive. They've received what we do well. Not much has happened this year though. But yeah, there's good guys in there, and we can make sure that jet sprinting is represented well at the UIM level.
Well, of course, ladies and gentlemen, for you, those of you who don't understand what the UIM is the Union of International Motor Nautique, and it is actually recognised by the Worldwide Olympic Committee. So effectively, it is the Olympic Committee for water sports that are powered by, obviously, engines. So it is a big organisation. We're very lucky in the jet sprinting world to be part of that. And Gasto, you know, you running the lead on that. What is the word coming up to the Worlds that theoretically we're going to be held in 2021 in America? Have you got any update on that at the moment?
Not really. It's all up in the air as it is with the domestic championships, I guess. There hasn't been a lot of talk, a lot of communication, even within the working group now, because there's not. We've really got no rules to go with. Domestic championship, obviously, in Australia this year is we've run one round so far this year. There's no direction yet. The board of the AFJSA are sort of going to go back to the members on June 30, which is hopefully there's some direction there on what can happen with the rest of the season. But until the borders are open, there's really no plan you can put in place and make plans for now. So it's the same with the Worlds. I know Chris and Kyle and the boys over there are going hammer and tongs trying to get something sorted, which is unreal. Everyone wants to go there and race. Whether it happens in 21 or not, who knows? I think domestic travel, you know exactly what's happening now, especially in Victoria. You know, there's been some more outbreaks. It's being dramatised fairly well, I'd say. But until there's some clear direction on the borders, I mean, our Premier, the Queensland Premier, she's not going to review the border opening until the 10th of July. So there's really no planning you can do until you've got some clear direction. So everybody's just waiting on that. I'm sure Chris Munro and Kyle Patrick and the rest of the team over there will keep forging ahead and sort of doing what they're doing, which is great news for the sport. And hopefully they get that together well, and I'm sure they will. Whether it happens in 21 or 22, who knows? The international travel might be another kettle of fish, you know?
Yeah, that's it, but it's going to happen now, mates. You've given us all of the bloody right, so we've gone into the serious stuff. Let's get off the serious stuff, right? Because we're all waiting on tenterhooks. What got you into jet sprinting, mate?
What got me into jet sprinting? Well, righto. Yeah, there's a couple of good stories out of this. So I used to race super bikes. I used to race road bikes.
I've got a photo of your super bike up right now here, mate. There's one of them there.
There you go. Yeah, that's the R1. That was in 2008, I reckon. That was at Queensland Raceway for the Aussie Championships. But anyway, Leighton Manel, everybody knows Leighton. Who's anybody knows Leighton. He was actually the promoter of the Tri-Series in New Zealand, which was predominantly the main race there is the cemetery circuit. So it's a street race. We don't have any street races here. It's a bloody good event. It's been going for over 60 years. And however it happened, we ended up, me and a couple of other guys, we took our bikes over and we raced. Leighton was the promoter. So that was the first time I met Leighton Manel. In his garage. So we went over and raced. We had a great time. The Kiwis were unbelievably hospitable, as we all know. We had a great time, and in Leighton's shed was his Jetsprint boat. And I saw it and I'm like, yeah, I need to have a go in that. That's cool. And it was the old Hummer Time, the yellow sprint deck that he had. So we didn't get a go, but the Boxing Day, the cemetery circuit race in Wanganui is on Boxing Day, obviously. The following day is Shelter View Jet Sprints. So we bike race. We had a few frothies that night, obviously, a few thousand, and then we ripped out the Jet Sprint track.
That, mate.
Yeah, we ripped out to the Jet Sprint track and had a watch. And I sat as you come into Wanganui. I sat up on the hill. There's this big tree with roots out. And I'm sitting on this root of this tree, and I was hooked. As soon as I saw it, I was hooked. And I ended up getting a dead ass from sitting on this tree root. So I got my wallet out, and I'm sitting on my wallet and try and stop the dead ass, but I sat there all day and I watched it. I think I was up there with Perry and Louise. So Perry, Louise is my navigator and from New Zealand. Louise and Perry are partners, and Pez comes over as well when we race here and cruise on the boat. Perry has got the bike shop in Wanganui. So it was all just fairly incestuous, really. And that's how it started. We went out for a day at the Jet Sprints. I was hooked. Talking to Leighton, I said, you got to get me a go in this thing. And he's like, righto, we'll come back for Gisborne, which is in, I can't remember now, maybe 4 or 6 weeks' time. Come back over for Gisborne, come and crew for me, and I'll get you a ride. So I thought, right, how good's this? I'll rip back over for a weekend. And at that time, when I was travelling backwards and forwards to New Zealand fairly regularly, the dollar was unreal. You know, you could go and have a cracker weekend for $1,500. Like it was absolute gold. So I ripped over there, went to Gisborne, which was, I think, the last time Gisborne track actually ran on the North Island. And Leighton said, I've got you right with this guy. He's a champion. It's a good boat. So I'll tee it up, and you know how Leighton goes. He just does the deal, bang. Yep, you got a ride. Next thing, I'm getting dressed in a pair of Choco's overalls, going for a ride with Choco. So Choco's a legend of the sport as well over there. He's a cracker of a bloke. He took me for my first ride of Jetsprint boat, and that was at Gisborne track, and that was it. Job done. I think Kelly Manell took a photo of me getting out of the boat, and that was it. Job done. Went back to Wanganui. There was a boat for sale, and it was Peter Hoos, who's got the quad rotor boat now.
Yeah.
He had that then in its early stages, and he had this other boat. I was like, right, this is the boat for sale. I need to have a go. So I went out and had a practice run one afternoon at Wanganui at Shelter View with Richard and Julia's track. And, mate, I had an absolute ball. And Leighton told me, he says, mate, don't worry about anything. I'll come out with you. I'll come and navigate with you. I'll jump in the navvy seat. I'll tell you what's going on. How good do you think that went?
Oh, mate. Well,
So,
we've got a bit of footage of this here, mate.
No, this is the actual race, that footage.
Right,
That's
right.
the race. But so Leighton jumps in. I'll finish this bit, right? So Leighton jumps in. We go around for one lap. He was just screaming at me the whole time. He's just screaming instructions. I got no idea what you're on about. Yeah. We get back to the ramp. And we get back in one piece, no problems. Leighton jumps out. That was the last time he jumped in. End of story. Finished. So I was on my own. And Stu White, he's another champion, you know, Stu from Wanganui.
Yeah.
He jumped in, and I kept doing some practice laps, ready for the night meeting the following weekend or whatever it was. So I thought, how easy is this going to be? Learning to drive a Jetsprint boat under lights at Wanganui. Yeah.
Right, now let's have a chat to our editor, see if he can get up the video, because we've got a bit out of order for him, and we're going to have a look at this video right now, Gasto. Just waiting for this to click in, of course, and here we go.
Ooh.
Mate, that at the top of the speed bowl in Wanganui, biffo.
Yeah, really good skills there. Really good skills.
Yeah, ran out of talent, traction, and track all at the same time, mate. What was the result of that crash?
I'll rate the boat off. Yeah, no, it was buggered. It was buggered. So that was a lights boat, and that was a cracker boat. That was a really good boat. It ended up being a really good boat. But there's another story as to how this. I'm not going to take any responsibility for that crash. And Perry Lett, you know why. So I had Perry and Leighton and a few of the boys there give me a hand. Stu White jumps in with me, and I'm pissing around, you know, I'm trying to get used to it. And for anyone that's raced at Wanganui, you know that top end, the straight's not a straight, it's a big sweeper, and it just tightens and tightens and tightens, and it's like, holy shit, get it in there, you know. And we got to that point, and I'm not used to this at all, let alone the lights and the reflections off the water. I've got no idea what I'm doing, but I'm having a crack at it. And I'd back off and piss around and get around that corner, you know, like an old woman. I get back in there, and I say to Perry, mate, I give it a little bit of steering, it does nothing, and I give it a little bit more, and then it just bites in and it turns. I don't know what it's doing. What's that? And Pez says to me, he goes, looking at all these guys going around, they're all holding it flat through there, except you're backing off. I think it's like bike suspension, so that if you're not on it and you're not having a go and you're doing some fast laps, the suspension's not going to work properly. So it's the same thing. You need to hold it on and get around that corner. So I'm like, oh, it makes sense. It does make sense. So next lap, full noise. There's the result. No, it wasn't my fault at all. It was Perry Lett's fault.
Pez is pretty good with motorbikes. We know that. But has he actually ever driven a Jetsprint boat?
No. As I found out after this. So I wrote the boat off. Absolutely wrote the boat off. It was rooted. Blake Bryant. I met Blake Bryant for the first time that night, and Blake and the Kiwis just. I tell you what, they came around and they said, "Shit, mate, we're so sorry to see that happen, but you know we'll get it sorted out for you. We'll get it sorted out." And Blake came up and he said, "Look, I'll tow it home. I'll take it up to Uncle Rex, and Rexy will sort it." So Rex Bryant, and a month later or so, we had sides and bonnet and everything ready to go. So put it back together and away we went.
There's a great moral to that bloody story, isn't there? Perry, you might be a good bloke, but don't be giving advice to Jetsprint drivers when you've never been behind a wheel, buddy.
As an absolute cracker, I still take the piss out of him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As you bloody should. We've got another photo coming up here, mate. Let's have a quick look at what that is. That's just popping up there. Now, this is the heat sink. This looks like the Group A boat. And we'll flick into the next photo there. And you're holding something that is not quite a checkered flag.
Yeah, not quite. It's actually a female singlet. It was Jamie Lee Lupton's singlet on the day. That photo was taken at Mary, and it was maybe 2013, maybe. And this was my first win in the Group A boat. So this was Reg Smith's old boat, absolute cracker of a beast, particularly after Brian Kelly and Aaron Kelly sorted it out. Beautiful boat. And we run Bay Park the meeting before. It was the first Bay Park, and Graham Hill got his first win at Bay Park, which was really good to see. And it was a big night, being the first Bay Park, etc. But Graham stole the checkered flag that he won, so he took it home with him.
Oh,
he took it home, and we didn't have another checkered flag. So for my first win, I did a victory lap with Jamie Lee's singlet, which, it's not all that bad, but that's what we did. That's why it's not actually a checkered flag. But if you don't focus on it, you don't see it.
Mate, exactly, mate. That's an absolute bloody cracker. And did Graham end up returning the checkered flag at all, or is he sort of...
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Graham bought the rescue crew another safety, another checkered flag.
So they put that one up in the shed.
Yeah, mate, he was keeping that one. There was no way you were going to get that off him. So, but anyway, that was our first win, and that was at Mary, and that was, we beat Sam Newdick. We had a great time. Him, Richard Murray. The competition through those couple of years was unbelievable, and that win was just. I was so stoked with that win. That was big.
Mate, I actually, the event itself was huge. Some 18,000 people at Bay Park, the biggest Jetsprint audience I'd ever been involved in. And it was just such a wonderful thing to be involved in and see how well not only the crowd, but also the races really stepped up. It was a phenomenal day. And, of course, maybe one day we'll get back to stadium racing again. And, of course, you were fairly intrinsic in that. Now, mate, over the years, you've sort of, you used to bring along an electric skateboard to some of the meetings. Now, there was a few bloody instances there where the old electric skateboard was a little bit of a dangerous weapon.
There was many times that was a dangerous weapon. It's actually still there somewhere. I think we ended up breaking it fairly well. I think some of those dangerous incidents were mostly involved with you, if I remember correctly.
Well, I don't know that you remember correctly, to be fair. I think, it's sort of funny we haven't spoken to one another for a while, and as I interview and talk to people such as yourself, during this sort of time of lockdown and not being able to hang out, I think it sort of answers this question: what keeps you coming back to the sport? And I think for me, it's the people.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, the sport is it's unique, and it is it's absolutely addictive. No matter how you put it, it's addictive. The sport itself, with nothing else, is addictive. The people in the sport is what makes you keep going. You get that bit of adrenaline hit, and what, if you're a racer, you're a racer, and you have to race something, right? So the boats are bloody awesome. Particularly now with how the performance of the boats is out of control. So that's addictive enough. But the people are just as important as the racing itself. It's an equal share.
Yeah, and one of the things, mate, that I see, and better coming from a motorcycle racing background, superbikes and all those sorts of things. Because there's no on-track incidents, because everybody's against the clock, the camaraderie and the sharing of parts and the sharing of secrets, some secrets until you get too good, and then people don't want to share anything with you anymore.
Yep.
That is really the backbone of the sport, isn't it?
Oh, it is, mate. It's bloody awesome, and it doesn't matter where you go, whether it's in New Zealand. We saw it in America in 2014 for the Worlds as well, but the Kiwis are... they're special people, and if you go there to race, they make it. It's their mission to make sure that you have a good time, and you can race as much as you can. So if you break something, those guys are there to help. They're absolute cracker people. In Australia, it's the same deal. You see the Australian paddock now. Someone breaks something, there's people running around the pits everywhere, pulling shit off boats and trying to get them going again. And that's something that you don't see in motorbike racing, for example. It does happen in the groups, but not to the level it does in jet sprinting. It's just a bloody good family atmosphere, the camaraderie. You're not out there taking each other out. That was the other thing. If you're in a pack, if you're in 40 bikes trying to get into turn one or something, and you take someone else takes you out. There's a lot of animosity there. There's not the animosity in the jet sprinting, because you're out there. If you mess it up, you've done it yourself. So, and you're not taking anyone else out, except maybe a safety crew official somewhere along the line. Nutsy.
Yeah. I like how you slid that one in there as well. And coming up the show, as the weeks go on, we're going to be chatting, of course, to the West Coast Jetsprint Club. Some great people over there, because we do talk about America, we talk about New Zealand, we talk about Australia. But the West Coast Jetsprint Club over there in Perth in Western Australia, also a fantastic group of people over there as well. And we'll be catching up with a few of those guys. But, mate, over the years that you've been involved in it, obviously you started racing in New Zealand. Now you're racing back in Australia. Quite haven't got the boat going just yet. But, of course, we're on a bit of a hold-up, so it's no big deal really either.
No, it's working in my favour, actually. It's okay. Look, we had a couple of years off from New Zealand to here, and probably the last 2 years that I was in New Zealand, I wasn't racing anyway. I was just doing the exec stuff with the team over there. But I was really missing the racing side of it and the fun, just going to have a weekend of fun. So there was a lot of work happening over there. When we finished the 2016 Worlds in New Zealand, our business here, it went nuts. It absolutely went nuts. My little girl, Brooklyn, she was 2 weeks old when I flew to New Zealand for 2 weeks for the Worlds. So it was a pretty hectic time. I was pretty glad to just get out of it. And I was pretty burnt out at the end of that Worlds. I was done with the sport. I just needed a bit of a break. So as you do, you sort of walk away and have a rest, and the passion comes back. And the opportunity came to get the boat that we got now. It hasn't been right, but Brad James from JRE, he's nailing it. engine's done, so we're waiting on a new engine loom. The other loom was fairly second-hand and average, so new loom, and that's all we need to go racing. But you know, the priorities change, and you know, the last few years has just been flat out with business. So we just got to make sure that that's right, and if that's right, we can go and play. So yeah, that's what we've been doing. So the COVID thing's worked all right for us so far.
Oh, mate, that's fantastic. And as you said, you know, the old get-togethers, I do recall that we're up at your place up there in Queensland at one point. I think you were trying to do monos on your golf cart there at some point, which...
I don't think we were trying. We did. We did monos on the golf buggy. Yeah.
And, yeah, and again, that sort of comes back to, you know, the racing's very serious, but it's the after-hours stuff that, you know, where the stories... And, you know, because we're sort of... we can't delve too far into that, of course, because, you know, we've got to keep a little bit of a lid on it. That's for... Yeah, that's for after hours. That's
right. Yeah, no, we're professionals, Katie. That's all there is to it. But yeah, there's been a few good get-togethers over the years, hasn't there? We've been involved in a few of those. I think Richard Murray was involved in that one as well, Katie. If I'm correct, Richard Murray was there that night.
I think you might be right. I think he was trying to send your golf cart submarine, as I recall.
He was, yeah. So we were monoing the golf buggy. I think we bent where you put the bags. It didn't have a bag holder. It had another back seat. And I think we bent it like a banana anyway. It needed some repairs. After that weekend, it needed some repairs. But we had a household of, I think, about 12 mixed Aussies, Kiwis for the weekend for a Cabba weekend. We were set up during the day down at Cabba on the hill with the quick shade and the Barbie. And then back to my place, and it kicked on fairly well. I think you may or may not remember, but Richard Murray was there. Richard Murray was there, and he's a cracker bloke to have a beer with. He's one of the good after hours blokes. But anyway, he loved the golf buggy. He was driving around the suburb with the golf buggy and running around the place. And there was a boat ramp. And he fired into the boat ramp, and he tells me he didn't sink it. I bet you he sunk it.
Yep.
It came back wet, and we didn't actually see him come back that night. This was funny. We didn't see him come back that night because the driveway was circular. You could come in one end, and I think we were down one end, and we couldn't see him come in. But he managed to come in. All of a sudden, he comes out showered and all clean, and we eventually... I pestered him that hard, and I think Julia was onto him as well. But it seems like he might have tried to fly the golf buggy into the boat ramp that hard that he may have dirtied his undies.
Oh.
I think that's actually what happened. I'm not making it up.
No, I know you're not, because there was an award that you developed for him.
That's right, yeah. There was an award for this, and it was AGM in New Zealand, prize-giving night, where this award was unveiled, and it was around the time Perry Lett, he had got this old man's pair of Y-front undies, and he'd smeared a bit of, you know, peanut paste and Vegemite, and, you know, added a bit of colour and texture to the gusset of the undies, and had them out on his couch drying and sunbaking over a period of 2 months. And he'd keep adding a little bit of peanut paste. And anyway, these undies ended up getting framed in a glass, you know, memorabilia type setup. And it was called the Dick Shit Murray Award. And that all came from that night with the golf buggy. But that award got handed on I don't know where it is now, but it kept getting handed on to, you know, to different people throughout the course of the years.
Yeah, this is, and again, this is part of the fun of it. But Gasto, we're nearly out of time as far as Zoom allows us to do that, mate. Just to for people online there. And so Gasto, an Australian, raced in New Zealand, was in fact the president of the NZJSA, you know, now the chairman of the UIM working group for Jetsprinting. Mate, it's been great to have you on the show. And let's hope that we can all get back and get to racing and develop more stories as life moves forward.
Absolutely, yeah, need more stories. So we'll work on that. It's Been a pleasure, mate. Thanks.
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, there's a couple of them there that I decided we better not go down that path because that could have led down a bit of a slippery slope. But, hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's Paul Gaston, and we call him Gastro because sometimes he does give you the shits. But thanks, mate. Good on you.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time for the Jetsprint Show. Hooroo. Beauty.